Welcome to another episode of The Profile. I'm Gary Dunn, and in the hot seat tonight, we've got the father-son rule happening. First we did the son, Michael, and now we've got Basil. Basil Videlli, how are you, mate?
Thanks for the invite. Yeah, good.
Mate, thanks for coming in. Really interested to hear your story and your journey in
How long
life.
does this program go for?
Mate, thanks for coming in, Baz. Wonderful talking to you. I'll start with, where were you born?
Subiaco,
Yep.
King Edward Memorial.
Yep.
Nothing flash. My dad was come to Syria. My dad wanted to hurry it up so he could go to the football on Saturday because Claremont supporter. So,
Father-son rule.
Oh, absolutely. Right. It happens here. Yeah, here in Perth.
So what instruments do you play, Basil?
Primarily piano,
Yep.
guitar very badly when I've had a drink at a party. I've been banned from doing it.
Yeah.
But piano, keyboards, yeah.
You also sing,
Yeah, as it turns out.
as it turns out. It's like me.
Yeah, well, I didn't know for a lot of years, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just later on,
Cool.
through necessity.
Yeah. So what was that light bulb moment in your life where you realised, this is what I'm going to do with my life? Was there a moment that you can think back on?
I don't think there was a specific moment, but music was never on my radar. When I was 14, 15, 16, even earlier, I was just all about sport. I was, believe it or not, pretty good at footy and cricket. And,
Okay.
and that was my focus. And my dad was hell-bent on me playing the piano. And he bought a piano and put it in our house in Lake Street, there where we lived. And he insisted that I go to this music teacher in North Perth. And after a couple of months, the music teacher came and saw my dad. He said, look, your son, he doesn't read the music. You can hear him play, but he said, you're wasting your money, because he goes down the park and has a kick with his footy instead of coming to lessons. So, and that's what I wanted to do. And of course, we had this piano at home, and I first got the alarm bells went off when I used to listen to Floyd Kramer.
Yeah.
And he had a hit out, I think in the late 50s, called Last Date.
Yeah.
And this is this little trill thing the way he used to play. And it attracted me, that style, but I still couldn't play. And anyway, subsequently, one of my friends had a guitar. Another bloke had drumsticks, so he considered he was the drummer. And Johnny used to borrow my mum's pots and pans, and we used to on the piano. And that kind of evolved a bit. And I'd learnt to play A chord and then perhaps two. And we formed this band. And the first, with the piano, obviously we couldn't take it anywhere, so I had to get something electric, and there wasn't much around back in the early
Probably
60s.
a Hohner or...
Oh no, it wasn't that
No,
good.
there wasn't
This thing was basically a flattened out piano accordion, and how it worked, we had reeds and you just go, and there was a wind channel with a fan on the end of it. It used to blow the wind and went like as a piano, and you
Wow.
press the thing and you go.
What if you had to go... Pep, 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 pep,
So,
pep?
no, there was no staccato. You couldn't do that. Just and of course, when we got to play, the problem is we couldn't hear this thing with the guitar and the 10-watt golden tone or something, and the drums. And so I thought, I'll sort this out. So I got a microphone and taped it to the end of this wind channel thing, and that was going to solve it. And I got one of those wire mesh amplifier things, and our boys were ready to go and plugged it in. Problem there, all you could hear was the fan.
Yeah.
So that didn't work either. So eventually, I think some serious one I bought was a Hohner with little pluckers on it.
Yeah.
And they used to wear out, and you'd play in the middle range, and every now and then you hit a note and bang, it'd be 5 times the volume. And I kind of got that. And I just, it evolved. It wasn't a mission for me to become a musician, but I used to go to the Signet Stomp and watch Ray Hoff and the Offbeats, and they were the ones. I was only 16 or something, and it's how naive I was. We used to go to the Signet Stomp and be two guys singing at the same time in microphones, like obviously harmony, and I just couldn't get my head around how did those guys know when to sing at the same time. I thought, how good is this? Anyway, I started to get a little bit excited, mainly because you could get chicks.
Yeah.
And well, that's the truth. And so started playing in the Shanties. I think it was our first paying gig.
That was 1963, wasn't it?
Yeah, 63. one of the guys in the band, the singer, he had horn-rimmed glasses, so he figured that he was Buddy Holly. So, but to give you an idea where we were at, it took us weeks to figure out the chords to Rubber Ball Like I'm Bouncing Back to You. I mean,
Whoa.
that's where we were at.
Yeah.
And that gig, the first gig with Brian's North of the Line, down there in Northridge now, was the first paying gig. I think it was £1, 2 shillings or something.
Each.
Yeah, each. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that was good money, wasn't it?
Well, it was good money when you consider I was doing an apprenticeship as a mechanic at the time with the WAGR.
What were you getting a week there?
£4.8 a fortnight.
So 25% of your whole.
Oh, no.
Half your week's wage.
A bit later on when I joined the Nomads,
Yeah.
we used to play at Canterbury Court and play for an hour, and we used to get £7.
Oh.
And my old man couldn't work out why I wanted to play music. All of a sudden, this music thing started to get a bit of interest.
And
you know?
girls as well.
It's £7 and a couple of birds. You know,
Mate,
how good's this?
fixed.
Except I couldn't play.
Okay.
That was the problem. But just taking a step back from there. After the Shanties, a lot of thanks to a bloke by the name of John Eddy, who was the rhythm guitar player with Russ and the Nomads, and later to play with John Young.
Yep.
And the Nomads were a band with a sax in it and Russ Kennedy out the front, and they were a pretty good band. But I couldn't play. I had no idea. For me, I had no idea of 12-bar blues. I had no idea of any of that. Everything was parrot fashion, and now you play that chord. And John Eddy took a lot of time out and was patient with me because he realised that if we could get this prick going, you know, all of a sudden we're the only band in Perth with a piano player.
Yeah.
So we subsequently learnt some songs, or I learnt some songs, and we finished up at a Battle of the Bands with only 6 songs that we knew.
Was that a Hoadley's Battle of the Band?
It was. No, I don't think it was.
That surprised me.
No, it was to
really?
do with the Lions.
Wow, that's the first Battle of the Bands I've heard from that era. That wasn't Hoadley's.
No, it was the Lions Club.
Yep.
And we played in this Battle of the Bands, and the prize for that was to appear with Johnny O'Keefe concert tour.
Wow.
And that went pretty pear-shaped too, because we were on the show. We did. It was a little bit fuzzy. It still is, but we played. First aeroplane trip I'd ever had was in Kalgoorlie, and we went up in a DC-3. The entourage was about 14 or 15 people.
Wow.
Jock's band, our band, and you used to have to walk up at a DC-3, and they're like that. And never been on an aeroplane before, and it took off, and there's noise. I remember the noise, and the wings are flapping like a seagull, and it's Christ, and getting crooked. And there was a guy on the entourage. His name was George Carron, and he was a singer/comedian, and he sensed that everyone was getting a bit crook, and they passed some sandwiches around. Because this guy, George Carron, he's put a couple in his mouth, and he went up where the pilot's door was with a vomit bag, and he says, "Oh, everyone, I'm not feeling very well." We went into this vomit bag, which was down in the sandwich, and of course it set everybody off on the planet. No, I can still remember the stink. But, it was horrible. But anyway, we did Kalgoorlie, and then, I'm sorry, we did Bunbury before that, and some stuff went down in Bunbury, and we did Kalgoorlie, and on the way back, we couldn't land in Perth because there was fog and rain and all that sort of thing. And I understand there's 4,000 or 5,000 people at the airport waiting for Johnny O'Keefe. And we landed in Cunderdin,
Oh, wow.
the only place we could go. But we had this big function to go to at the Charles Hotel that afternoon. And we thought, how the hell are we going to do this? And of course, there was a local footy match going on at the time in Cunderdin, and the word had got out. So these guys abandoned the game, had a shower, and drove us to Perth in their cars, the whole entourage.
Wow.
And then we got there and got sacked. And in one of those books, Murray Thomas, the drummer, writes that the reason we were sacked was because in Bunbury we killed them, and Johnny O'Keefe got jealous or something. I was a hell of a phone here, that's bullshit. What actually happened was, Moi, who can play 2 notes, over in Kalgoorlie, I suggested that we were better than the Rajahs, which is Johnny O'Keefe's band, and we should be backing Johnny O'Keefe, and he should piss them off. And of course, that got back to Jock, who was good friends with them, and subsequently me, got us sacked. And Russ Kennedy's dad on the 11th hour. It was big news in the Daily News, and local band sacked from John. It was big. And Russ Kennedy's dad, who was quite wealthy, he was a farmer, he offered £500 to the Lions effort, which was a lot of money in 1963 or whatever.
Absolutely.
And Jock said, "No, they're not going to go on."
I think Russ is back in the country now, down somewhere.
Down south somewhere, I think. Yeah. No, I
okay.
think he's very well. I don't know.
No, he's not very well,
No.
I believe. Yeah.
But his dad offered. But anyway, Jock said, "No, you're off the show." And
See you later.
I've got to say, and you don't speak ill of the dead, but he wasn't a very nice bloke.
Yeah.
He was. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, we got sacked. It was my fault. But the Murray's written on us because we went well, and he got jealous. And said, "Oh, hang on." You know?
But alas, 1965, you joined Ray Hoff and the Offbeats.
Yes.
You recorded an album.
Yes.
You moved to Melbourne. Thought you had a record contract. You
Yeah.
all rock up in pink suits. Tell me that story.
Well, with Hoffy, I mean, I was thrilled to get the opportunity. I could play a bit by now, but not much. But by now I've also, no, I didn't have my Hammond yet. We recorded an album because we were going to the Eastern States and at Martin Clark Studios, about 12 tracks. And for some reason, half of them were okay and half of them were just dreadful. And we had to either scrap them and get the best of what we had and make an EP, or scrap the whole thing or re-record. And we never had time to re-record because we had to go. And so I had this bright spark idea. I was part owner at a nightclub at the time, Northside. And I said, well, why don't we get a reel-to-reel? Pretend we're going to do this thing live, do the songs in sequence, record the crowd noise and dub it onto the thing. So we got Murray Jennings, who was a high-profile DJ in those days. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, you know, the big, deep voice of his. And welcome to Northside, Ray Hoff and the Offbeats going to perform. So all this noise was getting recorded and people clapping and whistling. And because we've dubbed that onto these 6 dreadful tracks. So the album was billed as half live and half recorded. And it kind of was acceptable, I thought. And in actual fact, somebody gave me a copy a couple of years ago, and I went and bought a turntable to
What was
listen
it
to
like?
I don't know what we were thinking, but I was talking
That's
50
all right.
years ago.
No.
You know, it was pretty ordinary, but
Yeah.
and we got conned. When we got ready to go, this is with Hoffy and the Offbeats, to the Eastern States. In those days, HP, you couldn't take anything out of the state.
Yeah.
If it was on hire purchase, and good old Ernie Mackey, he just kept selling the stuff we couldn't afford. But
God, Ernie Mackey.
so we did this big ad that we were going flying out on this particular date for our tour to the Eastern States, to Melbourne, and big ad in the paper. Trouble is, we left a week before that on the train to get out of town.
So they wouldn't know.
So we got there and we had Spencer Street Station. We had a pile of equipment, personal stuff, you know, keyboards, drums, the whole lot. That you would know. And Hoffy's ringing these contacts.
Were you in your pink suits then, or?
They never got worn again, I'm there to tell you. Once we got on that train, I think they got off at Euclid or something. The numbers that Hoffy had were disconnected. No one's at this phone, never heard of this person. So there we were. Between us, we had about 25 quid. And to put that into perspective, about $500 or something now.
But there was 7 or 8.
8 of us.
Yeah, 8 of you.
8 of us.
Yeah.
8. And we thought, what the hell are we going to do now? We had no gig, no money, no agent, nothing. And you know, we had a guardian angel. This guy drives up in this big bus, which was half a freight thing and half seats. And he said, look, you guys look like you're in a band. He said, you need a roadie? He said, yeah. And turns out he had this 5-bedroom house somewhere near Toorak. And so we've gone from sitting on a suitcase to all of a sudden we got a bus, we got a roadie, got a house, but we never had any gigs. That was the blue. And we thought, well, it doesn't matter. Once we hit the circuit, everyone's going to love us.
Did you have to share a room? There's only 5 bedrooms, 8 guys. I'm just thinking to myself, what's going on here?
Well, I'm Greek. I'm Greek, and it could have been a worry. So I had my own room.
Everyone stay away from Basil.
To be honest with you, no one knew who Sapuna was bartender. We had a lot of guests.
I love it. Yeah.
And Yeah, we had a lot of guests. But then we got out and we thought, you know, we'd only been there a few days. So well, let's go and have a look at this opposition before we blow everybody out the water.
Confidence.
Course,
You just love it.
So we went to, there was places like Birdie, Sebastian,
Yeah.
Sump and Tum and some other big...
You see
really,
Max Merritt and you see all the
yeah,
big...
and then we go into this Max Merritt and the Meteors, Billy Thorpe when he stopped yodeling, Doug Parkinson, Ram Jam, big band, fantastic, Python Lee Jackson from New Zealand,
Yeah.
and they were all class acts. We finished up playing, you know, whatever gigs around town, and eventually it just
Yeah.
dissolved into nothing, and I came back home.
So we had Johnny Young on the show some time ago,
Yeah.
and I think he talked about the band because you played with Johnny Young and Company.
No,
No, you didn't.
I played with Johnny Young and a Word.
Oh, okay. Because you were saying it was called The Word first.
I'll stick with my guns.
I thought I'd messed up then as well. Oh no.
Well, who knows? It was quite extenuating circumstances.
Yes.
Yeah, I was having a personal issue at the time, a romantic one, and John came from London. They'd been touring over in Europe
Yep.
somewhere, and he came minus a keyboard player and bass player. And he came to my mum's place. He used to hang out with our family, loved my mum's cooking. And he said, mate, I need a piano player and do you know a bass player? And I said, yep. And because of my circumstances, I was happy to get out of town. Nothing illegal.
Yes.
No, nothing illegal. Just romance. You know.
Yes.
And we had a rehearsal at 6KY and off we went.
Off you went.
And John promised us 10 months of work. We toured all around country Victoria and New South Wales. And I always have a bit of a giggle with the AFL footballers these days complain about travelling.
Yeah.
Well, I'm here to tell you, one day, we were based in Melbourne. We flew to Adelaide in the morning to do one of their go show things, whatever they had. We flew back to Melbourne to do Commotion, I think it was. And then that evening we went to Sydney to play at the Trocadero. And later that evening we flew to Brisbane to do a show at the Brisbane Town Hall, all in one day. Melbourne, Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane.
Basil, I drove 500 k's today just to get to this show.
Well, I'm not sorry for you. I had to fly around Australia to do one. No, you know, don't cry on my shoulder.
Oh, mate, okay. We'll move on. 1967, you joined the Swing Shift. Record a single, Words by the Bee Gees.
Yeah.
And went to number 1 in Perth.
It did, 6 weeks. We were, it was an interesting band, and Joy Mulligan was the lead singer,
Yeah.
lady, and she was a wonderful singer. She was a jazz singer.
Yeah.
And the fusion between her and the sort of a semi-rock band, it really worked. And it was the first time that I actually realised that I could sing. And for some reason, whilst we were completely different, her vocal and my vocal married well. It really did.
Yeah.
It sounded pretty good. And we did the Tonight Show every Tuesday and Thursday for 12 months here on Channel 9. And
Yeah.
Don Spencer, I think, was the host of the show.
Who was in that band?
Swing
can you-
Shift was Joy Mulligan and myself. John Scotty Gray
Yeah.
was on bass. A fellow by the name of John Neamy, it was actually his band. And we had a range of drummers, but the one we were mostly with was a guy by the name of Stewie Garrett. And none of us were great players, but it was a good band. And it was vocally very strong.
Yeah.
And we used to do this Tonight Show a couple of nights a week, and there was one funny instance there where I had a Hammond organ by then, which has got tone wheels, and
Yeah.
and so we
You have a Leslie as well? or-
Oh, absolutely,
Oh.
Mate. The Hammond's nothing there. It was
Yeah,
a big Farfisa.
How do you get that stuff around?
Oh, and 3 flights. Don't worry, I was a fit young lad,
Mm.
and so were all my mates who helped me. We were doing this Tonight Show, and Don Spencer wanted to sing the Battle of New Orleans. Anyway, righto, Don. So we did the rehearsal, and that was fine. There's no problem. At the night, you know, we did our show, we did our couple of numbers, and of course, at the end of the night, he's singing the song. The lights dim, the credits come down. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. Blah blah
And
blah.
he goes to sing the song.
And he's going to sing the song, right? But all of a sudden, the lights start to dim and the Hammond gets on tone with all this noise and the guitars are distorting and all this. What's going on there? It turns out we'd plugged into the dimmer. Because when they dimmed the lights, all the power went with it, you know. And with a Hammond, it was an absolute nightmare, you know.
Live TV. So the band moved to Sydney.
Yep.
Then it went to the Gold Coast. Then it broke up.
Yeah.
Why? Why was it?
Well, when we went to Sydney, we again agent. We had an agent.
Yep.
His name was Bill Ochiltree.
Promised you the world.
Yeah. He had no idea about music or entertainment or anything, but he was a farmer. He had some money. He just wanted to be involved. Okay, he was tip a bit of money, and we were happy to go along with it. He contacted an agency in Sydney, a fellow by the name of Graham Smith. And of course, we left Perth because we just wanted to go to another level. We achieved what we could achieve here in Perth, and it was a good band. We were earning pretty good money, and so we said, okay, we'll go to Sydney. When we get to Sydney, he got us a job for a 3-month contract at the Maltese Settlers Club, called the Phoenician Club. It was a casino. And we were basically a backing band. You know, all these, in those days, and the
guys who come through,
all the solo acts used to come and everybody sang My Way, you know. And
Their way.
Their way, absolutely, yeah. And anyway, Joy and I in particular, you know, we used to talk a lot and say, well, this is not what we came here to do. You know, we might as well have stayed in Perth. We're just going to sit here in this residency. And of course, then we recorded an album with EMI over in Sydney, and it was really good. And I actually wrote what was going to be the headline hit song. But then the issue became between the manager, the agency, the recording company, who was going to get what. But no, forget about the band. And of course, the whole thing just went pear-shaped, and the EMI just said, no, chucked it in the bin. Joy and I got the shits, and the band eventually came. We went to Surface. We knew some people up there. We got a job in the Castaways Club, and got to know Ricky May, a wonderful bloke, amazing talent. And re-met Johnny O'Keefe up there, actually, and he was quite civil.
He's much better?
He was much better.
He redeemed himself, huh?
Oh, anyway. And again, I had a giant blue with this John Neame. He was the leader of the band, because the agent, this Graham Smith, he'd got into his ear and said, you know, they're nothing, you're the one. And he was terrible. He was just, but it was his band. You know? It wasn't terrible, just ordinary. And anyway, at the end of the day, it all got too hard. I was not long married. My wife came to Surface at that stage, and it just fell to bits.
So you moved back to Perth, and gave up on music?
Too hard.
Too hard.
Went back to being a mechanic.
Okay, so you're 2 years off after being a mechanic?
Approximately, yeah.
And the bug bites to play again?
Yeah.
Where and with which band?
Well, I started off innocently playing in some local no-name bands around the John Barleycorn and those pubs. You know, a bit of extra money. I just got to sit here and play. But I couldn't cope. I was really playing. By that time,
You were good. You were all right.
Can I just go back a little bit with the swing shift? Yep. What that manager agent did do for me, he sent me to a music teacher, a bloke by the name of Roy Mailing. And he wasn't a piano teacher, he was a music teacher. I always struggled learning songs and knowing what was going on. And he explained to me and showed me the mechanics of how it all works. And it's all done on basically 3 mathematical formulas.
Yes.
1, 2, 5, 1, 4, 5 in the gypsy, I'll C, A minor, F, G. And he explained the only variances are key changes within those structures, which symphonies are written on, and all that sort of stuff. And all of a sudden, the penny dropped big time. I go, wow. And I could hear a song now and just know what it is, know what its structure is. And therefore, I really started to improve. I did quite quantum leaps. And with that knowledge, it got my soloing better and better understanding of everything. So that was one big plus. And then just going back to when I came back and joined a couple of these bands, I was at a reasonable standard by then, and I was playing with some very substandard people, and it just, you know, I'd go there, what was that, you know, and I couldn't deal with it. And then I got invited to join the Mark IV, who were quite a prolific band at that stage as well.
Who was in that lineup? Because there was many lineups, wasn't
there? Cliff Toll. Cliff was the It was Cliff's band.
Yeah.
He was the drummer. Alan Lyford was on rhythm guitar then.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And Kenny Barker was the bass player.
Oh, Kenny.
Kenny Barker, yeah. And myself, of course, on keys. There was only 4 of us.
So I remember when I was in the night after with Al for all those years, he always used to go and visit Kenny. Went just before he passed away, I think. And
Well, there's news from me. I didn't know Kenny did.
yeah. Oh, didn't he?
Well, no.
Oh,
No. Wow.
was he still with us? I thought.
No.
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 Yeah.
Oh.
I thought he did pass. Yeah. But Al always used to go and talk about Kenny and always go and see him.
Oh, he's a lovely bloke.
Mm.
We used to play that song, Sonny.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sonny.
yeah. It got to one passage. We played it for 2 years or something. He always made the same mistake on the same note. And then it got to the stage where becoming Kenny, he just turned around and grinned and just noted.
He'd do it on purpose.
I think he did it in the end. It just
He's
made
a
the
funny
same
bugger.
mistake in the same song
Yeah.
in the same
Yeah.
place. Oh,
Yeah.
He's a lovely bloke, actually.
Yeah.
But that was that long.
Well, I hope I'm not wrong. I hope he is still with us, and I could be wrong.
Oh well, I don't know. I
Yeah.
haven't been in touch with Kenny
Yeah.
for a long, long time,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I really wouldn't know.
So you Mark IV, you stepped it up to a 5-piece jazz fusion called Dana.
Dana. Yeah.
You're playing what sort of music? 1973 was that?
Oh well,
So-
we struck on a lineup with the late Jimmy Cook,
Yeah.
wonderful musician. Again, that was another big step forward
Yeah.
for me musically. He showed me lots of stuff, and Bob Lassen was on bass. Paul Young was a drummer. I think that was it. I'm Big Bruiser on trumpet, and we struck a good era at the time when Chicago, Blood,
Yep,
Sweat and Tears,
yep.
and Santana, and all that were really hitting the market, and we were capable of playing that stuff.
Yes.
By that time, the band was pretty good musos, and that was a terrific era. In fact, we befriended Jerry Marsden at
Right.
that time. In fact, Jerry came to Michael's first birthday or christening, I can't remember what, and up at our house there, and can we get another bottle buzzer because we run out of booze?
Did you have a pacemaker? Yeah.
He actually offered me a job.
Did he?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, when he was touring over here around about then,
Walk on.
yeah, well, mate, they were still big in that era.
Oh, massive.
And when they finished the Australian tour, Joe McLaughlin, his piano player, was leaving the band.
All right.
And Jerry asked me at Michael's first birthday, whatever it was, he said, do you want to come and... He used to come and watch our band quite a lot when he was in Perth. He said, you want to come and join the Pacemakers and go to London? I said, Jerry, yeah, my kid's first birthday. I don't even remember when I'm going to go. So that opportunity passed. I don't know if it was a good or bad thing.
You must be proud of Michael, like, and what he's achieved.
Sorry?
You must be proud of Michael, your son.
Yeah, of course.
And what he's achieved.
I'm proud of all my
Yeah,
kids.
yeah, of course. Yeah.
I
How
have
many
a-
do you have?
3.
3. Look into the camera there, please.
Actually,
Basil.
I've recently found out it's 6.
Is it really? Whoa.
That's a whole new program.
Okay. A whole new program. We'll talk about that on the next episode.
Yeah, very recently too.
Wow.
Oh, look, I've got a terrific relationship with my daughter. We cook together, and our whole family, we love our food, we love a drink, we love a laugh.
Good on
And I've
you.
got a younger son who's a chef over in Queensland.
Cool.
And all my kids are really happy to say that got a good relationship.
Yeah, great. I just asked you about Michael because I don't know the others.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I didn't know you had 3, but yeah, no offence to your other kids, but yeah, interviewed Michael here a while ago, and yeah, I've seen him play, and he's
Yeah.
played with you. But I think after I interviewed him, you were playing at a gig and he'd just come back in Bassendean or somewhere, or
Oh yeah,
you
yeah,
got up
yeah,
and had a jam.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
He was very
Yeah, that was a
proud
good
that you
day.
came along that night, and when he talked about that on his interview. So
Yeah, no, it's good.
another question I was going to ask you was, not on here, he's so tall, I had to stand on a chair to have a photo taken with him.
He
So
reckons
where
he-
did this come
he
from?
reckons he's
Basil?
adopted.
He's
Well, my
adopted.
daughter's 5'10", and my other son's 6'1".
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, Michael's bigger
I
than
used to be
6'1",
tall.
Because, yeah.
And I'm
Did-
carrying
you
the
should-
weight of the world. You gradually shrink.
So,
I can't answer that question because
is your wife tall, or
I think so.
you think so?
Oh, yeah, she's tallish for a female, but yeah, their mums, not sort. Yeah, just normal. But I think.
You don't want to get yourself in trouble here. Cut that bit, someone.
Kids reckon they're adopted, so that's all I can say. You know.
So you played in piano bars for 5 years.
Yeah.
Yep, on your own, obviously.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
How was
hated
that?
it.
You hated it?
I hated it. But at that time, like at the Gateway, I was there for 4 years. I was there from the transition from the Gateway to the Mercure,
Yeah.
which it is now.
Yes.
And then the piano bar they had then. And it was the only job in music I've ever had where every Friday, whatever it was, you actually got the paycheck and you had the holiday pay and all that sort of, you know.
Did you play Piano Man?
No, it wasn't out then. But I'll tell you what, when they
Yes, it
changed,
must have been.
no, when
No?
they changed,
Okay.
well, I couldn't play it.
Oh, yeah.
I can play it
Okay,
now.
thank you. Thanks for the honest answer.
When they did the transition from the Gateway to the now Mercure, they had two pianos. They had one by the cocktail bar where there was a fountain, and then one inside in the club called Brannigan's. And
I remember Brannigan's.
yeah, my gig used to be, I think it was 6 till 7 at the piano bar, the cocktail
Yep.
bar, and then 8 till 12 or whatever it was in Brannigan's. Well, they only just opened up. They had the big opening, and I'm sort of sitting there playing, and I wasn't good at this stuff, mind you. I just bullshit my way through, you know. And they had this fountain going, and every 5 minutes I had to go to the toilet. So I had to go to the general manager and say, hey, when I'm
Turn the
playing,
fountain
you've
off."
got to turn that thing off, you know, because I'm going to spend half the time in the toilet. So they had to turn the fountain off when I was playing.
Well, so in 1989, you opened the government bar for Alan Bond.
Yeah, or for Red, actually, where I lean.
Okay, and Michael worked with you. You stayed there for 5 years. How was that?
In a 5-year period, we had a break for about 6 or 8
Yep.
months in between, and that's when the Billy and the Kid thing, because I used to be called Billy when I was a kid.
Yep.
So,
And the kid's the kid.
a kid, and well, I'd like to take you back to Michael's
Please.
start. In that somewhere in that late 70s, early 80s period, where it was. Well, Michael was 17, so what does that make it? I don't know, 1988. Or whatever it was.
1988, yep.
I used to play at the Kalgoorlie round at the Shaft Bar
Right.
at the Palace Hotel. And this particular year, or before that, Michael got a guitar, right? And he said to me, Dad, I'm playing with my friends. He's about 15, somewhere in Netherlands. And I was going out that way, and I said, I'll drop in and have a listen. So I went and have a listen.
Was George Thorogood was the first thing he heard that really, when I asked him the light bulb moment, and his mate at that place that you're just talking about.
Well, let me tell you, it was nothing like George Thorogood. It was nothing like anything.
George Thorogood.
It sounded like exactly what it was. Some kids had just got some instruments for the first time.
Sounds like a young Basil Videlli on keyboards to me.
Well,
I don't know. Michael,
but he got going a lot quicker than me. But I walked out and we listened for about 5 minutes. I said to my friend, at least I don't have to worry about him getting involved with the music industry. So I was divorced with his mum from his mum
Yeah.
at that stage, but obviously we stayed in touch, and he was indicating that he was keen. Like, he won a scholarship to Christchurch. He could have been anything as an athlete, but
Yeah.
he decided to do this music thing. But before it got serious, I said, well, if you're going to play, let's get you a decent instrument. So we went to Cosmic up in Bentley there and got a really nice Epiphone,
Yep.
Ibanez guitar. Anyway, about a year later, and I said, if you want to learn to play this thing, mate, go and listen to B.B. King, Buddy Guy, and Jimi Hendrix. Go and listen to them, and
Yeah.
don't bother
Yeah.
me anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to Kalgoorlie, and he said, Dad, do you mind if I come? I said, well, no, jump in. He's got his guitar. Where are you going with that? So anyway, we get there. I was setting up doing the gig. He said, do you mind if I play a song with you? And I said, oh. Yeah, okay, Mike. Well, I only had the PA, so he's got there, and I said, do you understand the 12-bar sequence? He says, yeah. I said, okay. So I plug it in, and I'm playing, did some B.B. King shuffle thing, and all of a sudden these licks are happening in the background. Who's that? And it was him. And we finished the song. And I said, where are you going? He said, I finished the song. I said, put the thing back in there. and that was kind of the start of it.
Wow.
That was the
Unreal.
start of it. And then I recognised, hang on,
He's
I
got
might as well
talent.
help him with this now. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I recognised then that he was extremely talented.
He told me the same sort of story.
Yeah, well, that's that's the truth.
Yeah,
That's how it happened,
Great.
you know.
Fantastic.
And then up in Gov's Bar, well, you know, I'd only not long opened the bar and was trying to make my way in the management side of it because Gov's Bar basically was closed, and there was a big opposition from the opposition. The hotel had the whole market, so I had to create this thing up there and battling along, you know. And Mike said one time, he said, why don't we do a blues night on Wednesday in the Gusman? I said, mate, have you lost your mind? I said, who the hell wants to listen to blues
Like
on
lots
a
of people.
Wednesday night on Rotto?
It started a new thing.
Well, within 3 weeks, you couldn't get in the joint. And that legacy continued up until just recent years. We did it for a while, and of course, then we left. And it sort of went on the road as Billy and the Kid for a while, and that evolved into Power Shift.
Yeah. And then you moved to Broome to manage the Roebuck Bay Hotel.
Yeah, assistant manager there. You know, part of my portfolio was to organise the entertainment for them. You know, we had Thorpe, Jimmy Barnes, Chocolate Starfish, and all those bands that were around. I used to have to organise them. And Barnesy was an amazing thing. I mean, I always liked Barnesy, but the Roebuck Bay Hotel was licensed for, I think, about 1,050 people, something like that. And it's the only time I've ever seen in the beer garden from 5 o'clock. The show's not on, the doors don't open until 7, from 5 o'clock all the way, I don't know if you know Broome, all the way down.
I played there with Doc Neeson
all the way
and
down to
Andrew
the
Anderson,
Nip on in, 3 deep,
Nip on
waiting
in,
waiting to get in.
Yeah.
And I had to get more security. And I said, mate, we're going to open the doors and get ready. And we jammed in about 1,400. And I've got to say, Barnesy left nothing on the table. I mean, it was great. It was just fantastic.
Snorted everything off the table. But anyway, these days you play bowls.
Yeah, and I'm pretty good.
So lawn bowls, obviously.
Yeah.
And what, in competition?
I played pennants for Aussie Park Bowling Club.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and
excellent.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. And cook.
Bob Marr said you always played with a bourbon and Coke on the piano.
No, he's wrong. It was Scotch.
It was Scotch. Was his Scotch, probably? He
Yeah,
probably thought it was his
absolutely.
bourbon.
Yeah.
So, what was your earliest influence by a musician or band?
Well, it's a bit hard to say because I was brought up in an ethnic background. And my parents used to have all this Greek music going on, and none of it was overly inspiring as far as I'm concerned.
Nana Muscuri?
Oh, before that. Yeah. Oh, Nana Muscuri. She should have married Demos Russo. What a couple. Would have finished up with a giant canary, you know.
No, he wouldn't have, because...
I really don't know. I think... the Floyd Kramer, I'd sort of like that. I still play a bit sometimes of that sort of country style. And I think like most kids coming through, all of a sudden the Platters and Bill Haley and that era that all of a sudden I really started to like that music because it was getting me away from what I thought I liked, like Bobby Vinton and you know, it's that sort of era of basically soda water music.
Yeah.
And it wasn't going back to Hoffy's time where we used to go down on Sunday session with a keg, as you did in those days, like little kegs.
Yes.
and listen to...
little fiver or whatever.
That's it, about 3 of them.
I remember those. Still in there, mate. No,
yeah, they are. All paid for.
All paid for. I love it.
And listen to, you know, Johnny Hooker and Lead Belly and all those guys, which I didn't understand at the time, but I did after a while. I started to say, hang on, that's...
Who was your favourite?
Of them?
Yeah.
Didn't have one.
Didn't have one?
No, didn't have one. I suppose John Lee a little bit because I still do some of his material or adopt some of his material or adapt some of his material. But no, I mean, being a piano player, you started listening to, I loved Procol Harum and The Animals and
more of that English sort of influence.
Yeah, what's I was going to say, Manfred Mann, and I spoke to him.
Yep.
The piano, he had a Vox thing, and we played a show at the Capitol Theatre with Rustin and the Nomads, and again, completely naive. And the bass player in the Nomads, John Hendricks, you know, I said, he said, tell him you dig Jimmy Smith. I had no idea who Jimmy Smith was. So, I mean, I really dig Jimmy Smith. Oh, yeah, he's really cool. Fucking years later, I found out who Jimmy Smith was. Great whammon. I didn't know. But, you know, that's where I was at then.
Yeah.
So it's a long-winded way of answering your question, but I can't say, I could specify that's what triggered me.
Let me see if I can get you into this corner here. So you're going to be stranded on a deserted island, right? You can only take one album with you. What would that album
B.B. King.
be? There you go. I got it. B.B. King. Perfect.
Funny for a piano player.
Well, he's got the licks.
Can I
man.
take 3?
No, you can't. You can take one. Everyone wants to take more than
No,
one.
BB King gets
one
it.
is it.
BB King's got
Okay.
it.
Tell me the other two anyway. Go on.
The what?
If you could take 3, tell me the other 2.
Aretha Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
And Donna Muscuri. Probably 2 BB King ones.
Yeah, okay. You'll love it. So, what was your favourite TV show growing up?
The Winners.
The Winners.
Yeah.
Drew Morfitt, Sunday night,
Yeah,
6 o'clock,
footy
ABC.
show.
Yeah. Who's your footy team then? Who do you go for? No, obviously
Claremont.
not Claremont. No, I'm talking about AFL. We don't. Do you care about WAFL?
Fremantle. I'm a member of Fremantle until this year.
That's it.
Oh, hang on, it's
When did
okay.
you finish?
I'm done.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I remember
No, no,
I spoke on a radio station earlier this week and agreed that Ross Lyon was a finishing coach.
Yes.
Yeah, he finished my membership after 14 years.
So, which Victorian team did you go for then?
Well,
the
wherever
Winners.
Claremont players went.
Oh,
You
okay.
know, when Marshall went to Geelong, I barracked for Geelong.
Oh, right.
When Mossy went to Essendon, I barracked for Essendon.
Mossy, did
When-
you go to Essendon? I thought he went to Richmond.
No,
Okay.
Essendon. That's when he won his Brownlow.
Oh, okay.
And Kenny Hunter when he went to Carlton. I'll have take it to the bank.
Graham Moss, Essendon.
Graham
No, that doesn't
Moss
ring a
at
bell
Essendon.
to me. Did you? Okay, no worries.
I guarantee you. And yeah, basically that. When Claremont players went somewhere, I sort of followed them. I
Yeah.
didn't have any strong connections with anything in Victoria. I mean, I hated Victorians like everybody else. I hate the Eagles because they ruined the waffle. So
That's it. That definitely.
I couldn't stand it when they won the flag this year.
Oh, why? Everyone says
I
that.
hate them
Why?
because they ruined the AFL.
Well, how did they do that? Tell me.
Because the whole it's just a music. I don't mind this.
No,
This
no,
is good.
no, don't-
No, it's good. Because the whole idea of the Eagles was to stop players from going to the Eastern States. Let's keep all our boys here and keep them here. Well, we all know that's rubbish now, and none of that
What
happens.
is now?
Well, it even was then. I mean, it lasted a couple of years. Well, I'm not going to go into their football history and stuff. I'll leave that alone. But no, it just didn't transpire what it was designed to do. Now it's just another team with. Well, Freo's the same. I mean, although Freo getting some locals back, but yeah, look, I'm off over the AFL. It's a Victorian thing, and it's a sport that's been prostituted for television.
It's an uneven playing field completely. Collingwood travel 4 times a year.
Oh.
Blah blah blah. Anyway, we could talk about this for hours.
Yeah, we'll do a sports program.
we'll talk after. Like, okay. So, do you have any unfulfilled ambitions?
I always wanted to have my own music talkback radio program.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Can we organise that somehow, Al? Yeah.
Yeah, I really felt, I always still do think that there's a place in with all the music that's going on, your 94.5s and all this stuff that's going on, I still think there's a strong marketplace for music of the 80s, the 70s, the Motown, the disco, the Bee Gees style of music. I mean, it's the Earth, Wind and Fire and all those bands. That was a fantastic era of music, and you never hear it anymore.
My wife was, funny enough, driving me on the weekend, and I was in her car, and I'd never heard the music that was on the radio. And I said, "What station have you got on?" She said, "It was 107 point something."
Yeah.
Or they guarantee to play songs that no one else plays. It was amazing. There's blues, great blues songs, and yeah, really
Well,
good stuff.
I haven't come across it, but yeah, I just think there's a market, there's a void.
Yes.
There's a void of good quality music of the 80s and even the 90s that doesn't get any airtime anymore. And you know, I'm not going to knock the music that's going on because it's passed me by, so to speak. But you know, we're talking about recording. Now, you just need a laptop now and you can create an album. You know, where's the talent in that other than having a good operator?
Yeah.
I mean, that's life, I guess. Yeah.
Do you collect anything?
Do I what?
Collect anything?
Collect.
Like little toy soldiers or coins or stamps or women, kids? keyboards,
Stubby holders.
stubby holders. Do you collect stubby holders?
No, some caps. I used to collect caps for a while.
Yeah.
Now I just collect dust.
So you thought that was a strange question, but you collected caps.
Yeah, I did. I had heaps
You're the
of
first
them. I
cap
lost them
collector
now.
I've had on the show.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I've had some.
You've broken
bags
new
full.
ground here.
Yeah, except my head's too big and they don't fit.
Oh, I thought you were talking about bottle caps.
No.
Oh, no, you're talking about caps.
Caps.
Okay.
Heaps of them.
And
Like
then-
working in the alcohol industry, everyone's giving you hats, all
Yes.
different types, and hundreds of them I had. I got rid of a lot of them, but yeah, I just collect.
Okay. So what would you put on your gravestone, Basil?
Retired. Not retired, not out.
That's the first time I've heard that one too.
Well, I played a lot of cricket.
Yes. Okay, well, cricket, look where that's gone.
Sorry?
Look where cricket's gone. It's just not
Same
cricket.
as footy.
Yeah.
No, it's not cricket. It's for television. Everything's television.
It's all about sandpaper.
Except this program.
It's all about sandpaper and whatever.
Well, it was funny that the kids after that, over in wherever it was, South Africa, was it? They were running around, how to get the autographs. They all had sheets of sandpaper.
Can you sign this?
Look, where do you go with that?
Look, we haven't got an hour. We've got a couple more minutes. One more question.
Yeah.
And you don't have to answer this. Is there something about Basil Videlli that we don't know that you want to share with us? Something that no one knows, or? I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
You said you only had a couple of minutes.
Knock yourself out. Go.
No, not really. I've had a wonderful journey through music. I mean, I probably, in financial terms, never achieved what one would like to achieve. Who does? Yeah.
Who does?
But as per this interview, I was fortunate to come through that era.
Yes.
Of the early '60s up until well, I'm still playing now.
Yeah.
And no regrets. I mean, would you do things differently? Well, at the time you didn't know. I mean, that's
Exactly
the way it
right.
was. There's no good saying, "Oh, I'll do that," but at the time, that's what I did. Some very wrong things and some
Yes.
very good things. I mean, like we all do.
Yes.
In all walks of life.
That's how you learn, isn't it?
You do. I mean, you just make mistakes, and hopefully you can evolve and
Yes.
don't make them again.
Yep.
Although sometimes you keep doing it, but no regrets. I've experienced music's taken me a lot of places overseas. I've walked into piano bars in France and sat down mucking around. Next thing I know, I've got a free room and drinks all night. And so it's been great.
Fantastic.
I'm very blessed to have been able to somehow get started in this thing, and with the help of some very good people along the way, got to a level which is acceptable. I
Yeah.
think. People say, "How good are you?" The simple answer to that is better than some, not as good as others.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Mate, you should become an interviewer because this is where the big bucks are.
Yeah,
Sitting
right.
in this chair here.
Well, we did discuss the fee for this evening, didn't we? Can anybody lend me $5 for petrol?
You shouldn't laugh about that because. Look, Basil, so nice to have you on the show.
Pleasure, mate.
Son before father this time. We had Michael on first. And
Yeah,
you on second.
okay. Well, I learnt from him.
Yes.
He taught me everything I know.
Sorry? Oh, duo album. Is that a...
It's not something we discussed. My daughter, who's a very good singer as well,
trio?
they want to do a cover of the song that I wrote for the Swing Shift.
Oh, wow.
So, and it hasn't been discussed, but it's not something that's off the table either. So
Yeah, because Michael
Good
comes
question.
back once a year, doesn't he?
yeah, he'll be here for about 3 months from just before Christmas. So
Maybe we should organise a studio, Al,
yeah,
out the back here at Pro Copy and
yeah, why not?
get all you dudes in and see if we can do something.
I hope this is an alcohol-free environment.
Of course.
Oh, well, it's okay
Absolutely,
then.
100%. We have cups of tea.
Well, in that case, you're on your own.
Look, thank you so much for coming in.
It's a pleasure.
Really
Thank
appreciate you sharing your stories with us.
No worries. It's
Yeah.
a pleasure to get it out there.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, that's the show for this week. Good night. See you next time.
Procopy, we can transfer audio to CD, make CD, DVD and Blu-ray copies, transfer video to DVD, Blu-ray or HD, digitise slides and photos and supply custom USBs. You can see more details at procopy.com.au or call us on 08 9375 3902 for more information.